My parents disowned me for not donating my kidney to my golden child brother, but after he almost unalived me by tampering with my car, our family doctor revealed a secret that changed everything. I, 24F, really need some advice about my family situation. Everything has completely fallen apart over the last few weeks and I don't know what to do anymore. This might be long, but I need to get it all out. My older brother Jake, 28M, has always been the golden child of our family. Our parents, 54M, 52F, have always favored him and made excuses for his behavior, even when he treated me terribly growing up. He would break my things, take my money, and even got physically aggressive sometimes, but my parents always blamed me for provoking him. Jake was diagnosed with kidney disease last year and his condition has been deteriorating. He needs a transplant soon and I was tested to see if I could be a donor. It turned out I was a match, but after a lot of thought and discussion with my doctors, I decided not to go through with the donation. This wasn't an easy decision. The doctors explained that due to some underlying health conditions I have, the surgery would be especially risky for me. There could be serious complications and my recovery would likely be much longer and more difficult than usual. I would probably need to take several months off work, which I can't afford since I'm still paying off my student loans. When I told my family I couldn't do it, they completely lost it. My mom started crying hysterically saying I was killing her baby. My dad called me selfish and said I was no longer his daughter. Jake just sat there with this cold look and said I always knew you were worthless. My mom then grabbed my arm so hard it left bruises, screaming that she should have gotten rid of me like the others when she had the chance. I didn't understand what she meant by the others at the time, but it makes horrifying sense now. The next 2 hours were like a nightmare. They took turns berating me, bringing up every sacrifice they'd ever made for me. My dad listed the cost of my education, my mom talked about how many hours she spent in labor with me, and Jake reminded me of how he let me live in his house growing up. They even called my aunt on speakerphone to join in telling me what a horrible person I was. The whole time, I sat there shaking and crying, but none of them even seemed to notice my distress. It was like they couldn't even see me as a human being anymore. I was just a collection of organs that was refusing to serve its purpose. They kept guilt-tripping me, saying family should sacrifice everything for each other and that I was choosing money over my brother's life. I tried explaining the medical risks but they wouldn't listen. They said I was making excuses and that I just wanted Jake to suffer. My mom even said she wished she had never had me. That really broke my heart because even though they always favored Jake, I still loved them and wanted their approval. They kicked me out that day and told me not to come back until I agreed to the transplant. I've been staying with my best friend Sarah while trying to process everything. My phone has been blowing up with horrible messages from relatives calling me a murderer and saying I'm dead to the family. The situation got even worse last week. I was driving to work when my brakes suddenly failed. I managed to swerve onto a side street and use the emergency brake to stop, but I nearly crashed into several cars. When I had the car checked out, the mechanic found that the brake line had been deliberately cut. I was terrified and called the police. They investigated and found security camera footage from my apartment complex showing Jake tampering with my car the night before. He was arrested and is now facing criminal charges. My parents are still defending him though. They say he was just desperate and scared and that it's my fault for driving him to this. I thought that would be the worst of it, but yesterday something happened that changed everything. Our longtime family doctor, Dr. Chen, asked to meet with me privately. What he told me has left me completely shaken. According to Dr. Chen, about 25 years ago when my mom was pregnant with me, Jake, who was 4 at the time, became seriously ill. He needed a bone marrow transplant and they couldn't find a match. Dr. Chen says my parents specifically conceived me to be a donor for Jake. They had genetic testing done during the pregnancy to ensure I would be compatible. The transplant was done when I was just a few months old. Dr. Chen said he always felt guilty about his role in it, especially seeing how they treated me growing up. He decided to tell me now because he's retiring soon and couldn't keep carrying this secret. I don't even know how to process this information. My whole existence was just to be spare parts for Jake. All those years of favoritism and emotional abuse make so much more sense now. They never saw me as their daughter, I was just Jake's backup plan. I haven't confronted my parents about this yet. Part of me wants to never speak to them again. But another part needs answers about why they did this and if they ever actually loved me at all. I keep thinking back to all the birthdays and holidays where Jake got everything he wanted while I got the bare minimum. One Christmas stands out particularly. I was 12 and had been begging for a laptop for school. Jake already had one, but it was too old according to him. It was only a year old. Our parents bought him a brand new MacBook Pro and got me a $50 gift card. When I started crying, they lectured me about being ungrateful and selfish, saying Jake needed it more for his college applications. He ended up breaking it 3 months later in a rage when he lost an online game, and they bought him another one without hesitation. Right now I'm just trying to stay safe and take care of myself. I have a restraining order against Jake and I'm staying at a location my family doesn't know about. Sarah has been amazing through all of this. She's helping me look for a therapist to deal with all these revelations. I guess I'm looking for advice on what to do next. Should I confront my parents? Should I go public with what Dr. Chen told me? Am I wrong for still wanting answers from them after everything they've done? I feel so lost and betrayed by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. Edit. Thank you all so much for the supportive comments and messages. I'm overwhelmed by how many people care about what happens to me. To answer some common questions, yes, I have documentation from Dr. Chen about everything he told me. He's willing to make a formal statement if needed. And no, I'm definitely not changing my mind about the kidney donation, especially now. Update 1. It's been a week since my last post and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for all the support and advice. You helped me realize I'm not crazy for feeling betrayed and that I deserve better than how my family has treated me. I decided to confront my parents, but through a letter rather than in person since I still don't feel safe meeting them. I laid out everything Dr. Chen told me and asked for the truth. Their response was not what I expected. Instead of denying it, they sent back a long email basically justifying everything. They said they did what they had to do to save their son and they'd do it again. My mom actually wrote, "You should be grateful we gave you life at all." They still expect me to donate my kidney because according to them, that's literally why I exist. Their complete lack of remorse or recognition of how wrong this was just broke something in me. I've cried so much this week, mourning the loving parents I thought I had and wanted so badly to please. But I'm also feeling stronger. The fog of guilt and obligation they created is finally lifting. I've started seeing a therapist who specializes in family trauma. She's helping me understand that I was emotionally abused my whole life and that none of this was my fault. I'm learning to set boundaries and value myself. During one particularly powerful session, she had me write letters to my younger self at different ages where I remembered feeling particularly worthless or unloved. Reading them out loud, I finally let myself feel the anger I'd been suppressing all these years. My therapist also helped me understand the extent of the gaslighting I'd endured. For example, when I was 15, I got a severe kidney infection. Instead of taking me to the hospital, my parents made me wait 3 days because Jake had a football game they didn't want to miss. When I finally collapsed from the pain and had to be rushed to the ER, they convinced me it was my fault for not telling them how serious it was. Looking back now, I realize they were probably concerned about anything that might damage their backup kidney supply. The therapy sessions also revealed a pattern I hadn't noticed before. Every time I showed any independence or tried to plan a future for myself, my parents would sabotage it. They discouraged me from applying to colleges out of state, saying I needed to stay close to home in case Jake needed me. They interfered with my relationships, telling potential boyfriends about Jake's health issues and how I would need to be available to care for him in the future. They even tried to steer me away from careers that might be too physically demanding. Now I understand they were protecting their investment. Jake's criminal case is moving forward. He's been charged with attempted murder for tampering with my brakes. My parents are still supporting him completely. They've mortgaged their house to pay for his defense attorney. They're trying to claim he was temporarily insane from the stress of his illness. I've decided to testify against him. My parents sent more awful messages saying I'm destroying the family, but I realize now that they destroyed it long ago by treating me as nothing more than a living organ bank for Jake. The prosecutor is very interested in Dr. Chen's testimony about my birth circumstances. She thinks it shows a long-term pattern of my parents enabling and encouraging Jake's sense of entitlement to my body. I'm scared about testifying, but I know it's the right thing to do. Update 2. 2 months have passed and I have both good news and bad news to share. The good news is that Jake took a plea deal. He'll serve 5 to 7 years for attempted murder. The prosecutor says this is a good outcome given that it was his first offense and he has medical issues. The bad news is that my parents have completely lost touch with reality. They're telling everyone that I somehow framed Jake because I'm jealous of him. They've started a GoFundMe claiming he was wrongly convicted and needs money for an appeal. It's surreal seeing them spread such obvious lies. But the really shocking development came from Dr. Chen's testimony. Remember how I said I was conceived to be a bone marrow donor for Jake? Well, it turns out that wasn't the whole truth. Dr. Chen revealed that my parents went through multiple pregnancies before me, terminating them when genetic testing showed the fetus wouldn't be a match for Jake. He also shared something that made me physically sick. They had tried for another baby after me, planning to have a backup donor in case something happened to me. When that pregnancy wasn't a match for Jake, they terminated it too. I was literally sandwiched between discarded siblings, all because we didn't match Jake's medical needs. I was their 5th attempt. They kept trying until they got the perfect match they needed. Learning this destroyed the last shred of doubt I had about cutting contact with them. These people aren't my parents in any real sense, they're just the people who created me as a medical resource. The kidney donation is completely off the table now. Jake will have to go on the transplant list like anyone else. My parents are still harassing me about it, but I've blocked them everywhere. I'm moving to a new city next month where they won't be able to find me. Sarah's family has basically adopted me. They invited me to move in with them until I get settled in my new place. Her mom hugged me and said, "We'll show you what real family love feels like." I broke down crying because it was the first time I felt that kind of unconditional maternal love. Update 3. It's been 6 months since everything fell apart, but I'm finally starting to rebuild my life. I'm settled in my new city and loving my fresh start. My new job is going well and I've made some wonderful friends who know my whole story and have my back. Jake isn't doing well in prison from what I hear. His kidney function is getting worse and he's on dialysis now. My parents tried to use this to guilt me one last time, sending a message through a relative about how I'm watching my brother die. I blocked that relative too. The harassment didn't stop there though. My parents started showing up at my workplace, causing scenes in the lobby until security had to remove them. They even tried to contact my boss to get me fired, claiming I was stealing from the company, completely false. Thankfully, my boss has been incredibly supportive and got a restraining order against them. Last week, they somehow found my new address and left a package on my doorstep. Inside was my baby album, except they had torn out every photo of just me, leaving only the ones where I was with Jake. There was also a letter detailing every sacrifice they'd made for me, including the cost of my birth, which they apparently kept detailed records of, and a bill demanding I repay them since I was refusing to fulfill my purpose. The level of calculation and cruelty just stunned me. The most unexpected development is that Dr. Chen's revelations led to an investigation of my parents' fertility doctor from back then. Apparently what they did, creating a baby specifically for organs, violated medical ethics rules. The doctor lost his license and more families are coming forward with similar stories. I've connected with some of these donor babies and it's been incredibly healing. We understand each other in a way no one else can. We're actually starting a support group and looking into legal advocacy for laws preventing this kind of medical exploitation. Sarah's family continues to be amazing. I spent the holidays with them and it showed me what healthy family dynamics look like. Her parents even said they think of me as another daughter now. I cried happy tears this time. I'm in a much better place mentally thanks to therapy and distance from my toxic family. I still have hard days where I grieve for the loving family I never had, but I'm building my own chosen family now with people who love me for who I am, not what organs they can take from me. Final update, 18 months later and my life is completely transformed. I'm engaged to an incredible man who knows my whole story and is fiercely protective of me. We're planning our wedding for next spring and my chosen family will be there to celebrate. Sarah is my maid of honor and her parents are walking me down the aisle. Jake passed away 2 months ago when a transplant match couldn't be found in time. I found out through social media and felt nothing. The brother I loved died long ago when he tried to kill me. This was just a stranger who happened to share my DNA. After his death, one of the nurses who cared for him in his final days reached out to me privately. She said Jake had confessed something to her near the end. Apparently, this wasn't the first time he had tried to hurt me. When I was 12, I had a mysterious accident where I fell down the stairs and broke my arm. Jake admitted to her that he had pushed me because he was angry that I had gotten a better grade than him on a math test. He also confessed to poisoning my pet hamster when I was 8 because he thought I was spending too much time with it instead of paying attention to him. The nurse was so disturbed by his lack of remorse that she felt compelled to tell me. The revelation made me re-examine countless accidents from my childhood through a new lens. The time my bike brakes failed, after Jake had been fixing it for me. The time I got food poisoning the day before my school play, after Jake had insisted on making me a special good luck breakfast. The time my art project for the school fair was destroyed, after it had gotten more attention than his science project. How many times had he tried to hurt me while our parents looked the other way? My parents' final message was to blame me for his death. I didn't even read it all before deleting it. Their words have no power over me anymore. I know now that I deserve love that doesn't come with conditions or costs. The day after Jake's funeral, which I didn't attend, I received an unexpected call from my maternal grandmother. She had been estranged from my parents for years, and I now understood why. She had suspected something was wrong with how they treated me but could never prove it. She apologized for not fighting harder for me when I was young and shared some shocking information. Apparently, my parents had tried to get her to change her will to exclude me, claiming I was ungrateful and not really family since I wouldn't help Jake. She refused and instead has updated her will to leave everything to me, saying she wants to ensure I have the resources to heal from what they did to me. The most healing moment came last month when I was going through some old boxes and found my childhood diary. Reading it broke my heart, page after page of a little girl desperately trying to earn her parents' love, blaming herself for their coldness, promising to be better so they would love her like they loved Jake. I took it to therapy and finally processed the depth of emotional damage they had inflicted. But it also showed me how far I've come from that scared, lonely little girl who thought she only existed to be harvested for parts. The Donor Baby Support Group has grown into a national advocacy organization. We're pushing for legislation to prevent what happened to us from happening to future children. Several states are considering bills named after our cause. Through the group, I met Emma, another donor baby whose story was heartbreakingly similar to mine. She was conceived to be a liver donor for her sister. Her parents went through with the transplant when she was just 2 years old, and kept pushing her to donate more as she grew up. By the time she was 16, they had taken parts of her liver twice more, one of her kidneys, and bone marrow multiple times. She finally escaped when she turned 18, but the repeated surgeries left her with chronic health issues. Her story made me realize how much worse my situation could have become if I hadn't stood up for myself when I did. We've also uncovered disturbing patterns in how these donor babies are treated in their families. Almost all of us were emotionally abused, treated as second-class members of our families, and made to feel that our only value was in our organs and tissues. Many of us struggled with depression and self-worth issues, believing we didn't deserve to exist for our own sake. I never imagined when I made that first post that my life would change so dramatically. In addition to all the other changes, I've started volunteering at a support center for organ donors and their families. I share my story with potential donors to ensure they understand their rights and that they're making a truly free choice, not acting under family pressure. Recently, I helped a young girl stand up to her parents who were trying to force her to donate bone marrow to her cousin. Seeing her find her voice and set boundaries made me cry with pride. My fiancé and I are also expecting our first child, and the pregnancy has brought up a lot of emotions. I've been terrified of turning into my parents, but my therapist is helping me work through those fears. We've already decided that we'll be completely honest with our child about their family history and ensure they know they were conceived out of love, not obligation like I was. They'll grow up knowing they were created out of love, not obligation, and that their body belongs to them alone. Sarah's mom has been amazing through the pregnancy, showing me what real maternal love looks like. She comes to all my appointments, helps me deal with morning sickness, and is already planning the baby shower. Sometimes I catch myself waiting for her to demand something in return for her kindness, but she never does. She just loves me, simply and unconditionally, the way a mother should. Thank you, Reddit, for helping me see the truth and find the strength to choose myself. To anyone in a similar situation, you deserve to be more than someone else's spare parts. Your life has value beyond your organs and tissues. Don't let toxic families steal your future trying to save theirs. There is hope and healing on the other side of saying no.